Okay, so next, let's consider why we want to talk about platforms. Okay, so we may actually mention a lot, but if that's really true, what's the magic with platforms? Why it may appear in all kinds of industries? Well, first, the idea of running a platform typically requires low initial investments. For example, if you want to sell products, you don't need to worry about warehouse logistics, customer services, and so on. Simply find someone to sell products to consumers, right? So you don't need to create a warehouse. You don't need to have a lot of trucks do the shipping. That's already very good. Or today we do have those affordable and reliable cloud services, right? So you don't really need to maintain your own IT team or maintain your own mainframes. Amazon and Google and Microsoft is going to help you. So that's really one very good reason to create a platform because it's really easy to start compared with running a merchant. This is especially true if you are talking about financial services, medical services, education, higher educations, and among others. Plus, a platform has good extendability. So what's that? That means if you are running a platform, then existing customers typically bring in new customers. This is something we observed regarding Facebook, regarding Instagrams, right? Because you use Facebook because you want to get connected with some other consumers. Okay. Or this is Uber, Airbnb. You go to use Uber and Airbnb because you want to get connected by suppliers. So if you have a platform, they grow up by themselves because existing consumers or existing users, they attract new users. And in particular, in some sense, the cost for serving consumers are paid by suppliers. Okay, imagine Google and Airbnb. Suppose you want to, Uber and Airbnb. Suppose you want to do some kind of services like Uber in a merchant way. Imagine how many cars you need to prepare and how many drivers you need to hire. Okay, so that's really a big investment. Regarding Airbnb, again, imagine how many accommodation you need to prepare. All right. So of course, well, one you may argue, hey, please, Uber is really controversial, right? There are so many discussions about whether Uber should treat those drivers as full-time employees. I agree. Okay, I totally agree. And what I agree is that Uber should be better to those part-time drivers. But there's one thing personally I don't agree is that we should not consider Uber drivers as Uber's full-time drivers. One may choose to do that, or Uber may create two tracks, one for full-time drivers, the other for part-time drivers. But the good thing for Uber as a platform is that now basically you have the chance to be a part-time driver. Okay? So the thing is that if you want to just have your full-time job, but during some midnights, during some holidays, you want to spend some time to serve consumers, you go to Uber and you have some consumers for you to serve. All right? So the thing is that if you are really a part-time driver in that way, I don't think you should be considered as a full-time driver for Uber. On the other hand, Uber should create some kind of full-time track for drivers. If a driver wants to become a full-time Uber driver to serve Uber, to serve those consumers, then Uber has the chance, has the right to determine whether they want to hire this person as a full-time driver or not. Once Uber says yes, then Uber provides all the salary, all the insurance, all the welfare to these full-time drivers. Okay, so I'm not saying that I am against or support Uber or not. I'm just saying that from a business perspective or from business logic perspective, I do enjoy the idea created by Uber to allow part-time drivers to find consumers. Okay, and that's going to, if we do it in the right way, that's going to help part-time drivers, consumers, and the company itself and the society if we do it in the right way. Okay, so I'm not saying that Uber should kill all those part-time drivers by just doing bad thing to them. I'm just commenting on the logic. Finally, if you serve as a platform, in most cases, you are doing a digital job, right? So in that case, you're going to do digital business, and then all the transactions, all the behaviors happening on your platforms, if you want, may be collected. And then we all agree that data is useful. Those data may help the company create a better service, better understanding the consumers and the suppliers, or sometimes even generate very good competitive advantage. So one thing to remind you is that when we talk about platforms, a platform certainly can be physical or digital. Okay? So for physical platforms, well, as long as you do a service with some kind of platform ideas, with some kind of multi-sided ideas, you may consider you as physical platforms. Okay? So that does not need to be digital. You don't need to have a website. You don't need to have an app. You may always do physical platforms. It's just that instead of doing this, typically people choose to do digital platforms because your value is in connecting people. And the most efficient way to connect people today is through internet. That's why you see most platforms are digital. Okay? So in this course, we want to talk about business platforms. What do we mean? We mean the platform should be at least financially sustainable. So I'm sorry if you care a lot about CSR, if you care about as the society, but for this course, we focus more on the business side. So key issues would be if you want to run a platform, well, you want to serve some consumers, you want to help some people, right? You need to first have your value proposition. And what's more important is that we want to choose a correct or a appropriate business model. At least in this course, we need to answer one question. When I want to do a business, should I do a multi-sided platform or should I be a merchant? Then we're going to have several issues regarding management. We need to decide how to price our service. And as you may imagine, in many cases, we need to subsidize some of our services or some of our suppliers. Okay, that's one issue. We need to determine how to do governance, which means how may we allow or disallow interactions among those sites. How may we determine who may enter our platforms? How may we screen out those bad guys? And so on and so on. That's about governance. And of course, we may have some ideas about competition because if we can do a platform, some others can also do. And we need to understand the impact of competition on all other things. That's certainly interesting, but of course, to be an analyst, to be able to do some systematic thinking regarding all these issues, instead of just using intuitions, we need some tools, theories, frameworks, whatever you call them. We need theories. Okay? So we need network economics, information economics. Those are the things that I'm going to briefly introduce to you in this course. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I'm not going to ask you to do some calculus. I'm not going to you to write down equations and compute the optimal allocation of blah blah blah. But you need to know the concepts so that when you are do all this analysis, you may go deeper. Okay? So those are some things we need to do. So basically this is lecture 1, right? In lecture 2, we talk about model selection. And then in lecture 3, we talk about information economics. This is lecture 4, 5, and 6. So basically, network economics will be introduced for today. And also, from time to time, you may see that some parts may be swapped somehow, but ideally, in a course like this, we should cover basically all these subjects.